My parents forced me out so my favorite sister could move in, even though I had purchased the house. But karma arrived sooner than anyone expected. I, 37F, have spent the last 15 years building my career as a senior manager at one of the top investment banks on Wall Street. This story centers on my complicated relationship with my sister Emily, 47F, my parents, both in their late 70s, and a house I recently bought for them that has become the center of ongoing family conflict. I need to take you back to the beginning to explain how everything unfolded. My parents were in their late 40s when I was born, making me an unplanned child. My mother would often remind me that they already had Emily, who was 10 years old at the time, and that she was more than enough. She didn't say this with cruelty, but in a tone that somehow made it feel worse. She would say, "We didn't plan for you," while organizing Emily's extracurricular activities or preparing her college applications. These seemingly harmless remarks constantly reminded me that I was an afterthought in our family, shaping much of my early life. I might not even have been here if it weren't for my maternal grandparents' insistence. While my parents viewed me as an unexpected burden, my grandparents were overjoyed at the idea of another grandchild. From the beginning, it was clear I held a different place in my parents' lives. Every morning, when they dropped me off at my grandparents' house, my father would say to my grandfather, keys jingling in his hand, "You wanted her, she's yours," before leaving for work. My grandparents' house became my true home, a place where I felt genuinely loved and valued. They made sure I was cared for, picked me up from school, helped with homework, and took me to the park. I spent hours learning about numbers and problem solving with my grandfather, a retired math professor. He would say, "Numbers never lie. They tell more honest stories than people do." Those lessons later shaped my career choices in ways I couldn't have imagined. At the kitchen table, my grandmother helped me with my schoolwork every afternoon, making sure I fully understood each concept. Her patience seemed endless. As a former high school teacher, she often reminded me, knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you, with both kindness and conviction. She also taught me how to cook, not as a chore, but as a way to express creativity and care. The time we spent in the kitchen, talking about my day and learning precise measurements, became some of my most treasured memories. My parents, usually tired and slightly irritated by the drive, would only arrive late at night to pick me up. "Madison," my grandmother would say each evening as she hugged me goodbye, "you're the best thing that ever happened to us." In those moments, I could almost forget that I wasn't wanted elsewhere. They were my emotional anchor, giving me the stability and affection missing at home. My grandfather would often add, "Sometimes the best things in life aren't planned." I learned to exist as an afterthought in my own house. As Emily prepared for her bright future, she acted as if I didn't exist. She wasn't mean or openly cruel. She simply ignored me. She would lie on the couch talking on the phone about boys and college applications, completely unaware of me as I played quietly in the corner of our shared living room. The contrast in how my parents treated Emily and me was obvious and consistent. I would hear my mother proudly share Emily's accomplishments with friends and family. "Emily got straight A's again." "Emily made the debate team." Or "Emily got into her dream college." They attended all of her events, science fairs, debates, and competitions. Meanwhile, when it came to mine, their usual excuses were, "We're too tired," "We have work," or "You understand, don't you?" Reasons that highlighted their absence. Instead, my grandparents became my biggest supporters, attending every school event with genuine pride and excitement. I hoped things might change when Emily left for college. I thought maybe, as the daughter who remained, my parents would finally notice me. I was wrong. By the age of 14, I went from being invisible to becoming the household caretaker. My mother would call out, "Madison," before I could even set my backpack down after school. "The house needs cleaning. Start with the bathrooms." I took over all of Emily's chores, along with several additional responsibilities. I quickly learned every setting on the washing machine. It became part of my daily routine. Cleaning, cooking, and maintaining a home for parents who barely acknowledged me felt like an endless cycle. My father would say, "You live here. You need to contribute." And if I hesitated even slightly, he would add, Your sister always did her part. By 14, my responsibilities had already expanded from cleaning to cooking. The change wasn't gradual. One day, my mother simply stopped making dinner. One morning she said, "You're old enough now. We expect dinner ready when we get home from work." Despite the heavy workload at home, I maintained excellent grades. My teachers noticed my strengths in economics and mathematics and encouraged me to compete in academic events. My grandfather spent extra time helping me understand complex topics far beyond my grade level. With pride in his eyes, he would tell me, "You have a gift with numbers. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Dreaming about college became my escape. Every night, after finishing the dishes, I would go to my room and browse university websites. I imagined myself walking across campuses far away from the constant chores and quiet neglect. My hard work paid off. I kept straight A's and at 16 received acceptance letters from several prestigious universities, including ones known for strong finance programs. Then came Emily's engagement. One Sunday afternoon, she burst through the front door, pulling a tall, well-dressed man behind her. "Mom, Dad, this is James. We're getting married," she announced excitedly. It felt as though someone had just announced a lottery win. My mother began crying tears of joy, and my father immediately started calling relatives. "We'll cover everything," my mother said, hugging Emily tightly. "Our first daughter's wedding has to be perfect." For months, our home revolved around wedding planning. Every conversation focused on guest lists, venues, and flowers. Expensive outfits, luxury vendors, everything was top tier. Money seemed to flow endlessly. Even at the wedding, my grandparents appeared uncomfortable with the excess. My grandfather quietly shook his head at the champagne fountain, while my grandmother frowned at a decorative sculpture that likely cost more than a semester of college tuition. Still, they said nothing. They likely understood what was coming next and chose to remain silent. They kept their opinions to themselves. I shared my news with my parents while sitting at the dinner table, 3 envelopes laid out in front of me on the day I received my acceptance letters. My heart was racing. "That's nice," my mother said quietly without looking up from her plate, "but we can't pay for it. We spent all our savings on your sister's wedding, even took out a loan. There's nothing left for college." I hesitated before saying, "But you paid for Emily's college," barely raising my voice above a whisper. "That was different," my mother replied in a dismissive tone. "We saw potential in her." The silence that followed felt overwhelming. "You should get a job, save money, and take out student loans. That's what responsible adults do," my father added. For the first time, I left the table without asking permission. With shaking hands, I called my grandmother. Within minutes, I was in tears as I walked through their familiar front door. My grandfather's expression became serious as he listened, though there was something steady in his eyes. After I explained everything, my grandparents exchanged a knowing look. Then my grandfather took my hand and said, "Madison, we've been saving for your education since the day you were born. We expected something like this." He returned from his study with a folder filled with bank statements showing years of careful savings. "You can choose any of those universities. We've got you covered." That same evening, I packed my essentials and moved in with my grandparents. When I told my parents, they were watching TV and barely reacted. "Do whatever you think is best," my mother said without looking away from the screen. I couldn't help but notice the hint of relief in her voice. The years that followed changed everything. I enrolled in one of the top business schools to study financial analysis. My drive to do things properly may have come from watching my parents' poor financial decisions. My focus and natural ability with numbers quickly stood out to my professors. I often stayed after class to discuss complex topics. Finally, someone besides my grandparents recognized my potential. During college, I secured respected internships at major financial institutions. Each summer brought new challenges and opportunities. Senior managers were impressed with my analytical skills and attention to detail. During a performance review at Morgan Stanley, my supervisor told me, "You have a natural instinct for this. We'd be happy to have you back next summer." Aside from regular calls with my grandparents, I stayed focused on my studies and rarely thought about my family. After graduating, I was hired by one of the city's leading financial firms. The starting salary exceeded anything I had imagined. I rented a small, clean one-bedroom apartment and felt grateful each morning that I only had to take care of myself. As I committed fully to my work, my career advanced quickly. I earned bonuses and promotions I once thought were out of reach. Within 5 years, I moved into a senior role, managing complex portfolios and building strong client relationships. I became known for strategic thinking and precise analysis. Each achievement quietly confirmed that my parents had underestimated me. Meanwhile, through occasional conversations with my grandparents, I learned that Emily's marketing career wasn't progressing as expected. Her husband, James, struggled to keep steady work. "They keep asking your parents for money," my grandmother told me during one of our weekly calls. "Your mother even emptied her retirement account last month to help with their rent. They can't say no to her." Over time, the situation worsened. Even with my parents' support, Emily and James could no longer afford rent. They, along with their 7-year-old twins, moved back into my old room. My parents, who once praised Emily constantly, now had to support her entire family. I kept my distance, focusing on building my own life. Every promotion, bonus, and successful deal reinforced that I was not the failure my parents once believed me to be. By my mid-30s, I had built solid savings and investments, including enough for a down payment on a home. Then everything changed. My grandfather passed away suddenly after a severe heart attack. It was a devastating loss. He had been the father figure who supported me when no one else did. Shortly after, my grandmother, who had spent over 50 years with him, seemed to lose her strength and passed away less than 2 months later. In every meaningful way, they had been my true parents. And suddenly, they were gone. At the funeral home, while I was arranging my grandmother's service, I heard my mother's voice behind me. "Madison, do you want help with the arrangements?" When I turned, she looked older and more worn than I remembered. A part of me wanted to refuse, but I held back. "Sure," I said, "that would be helpful." Over the next few days, as we prepared the service, my parents began to open up. They admitted they were struggling. One afternoon, while selecting flowers, my father said, "We haven't been financially stable since retirement. We're barely managing." He then mentioned Emily's twins. I realized my sister and her family were still living with them, relying on their limited income. A week after my grandmother's funeral, we gathered in a wood-paneled office for the reading of the will. Emily and James sat beside my parents while I sat across from them. The room felt tense, filled with the scent of old paper and polished furniture. None of us realized then how much things were about to change. After adjusting his glasses, the notary, Mr. Patterson, began reading in a steady tone. I expected standard legal language, but his next words caught everyone's attention. "To our beloved granddaughter Madison, we leave our house at 1542 Maple Street and the sum of $150,000. The silence that followed was immediate. My mother gripped my father's arm tightly, her knuckles turning pale, while Emily stared in shock. Clearing his throat, Mr. Patterson continued, glancing at my mother. "And a personal note from Mr. Henderson to his daughter, Margaret." He read aloud, "Remember, Margaret, we gave you $200,000 when you needed it most. As we respected your needs then, we expect you to respect our final decision." My mother's face shifted from red to pale. Emily and James exchanged uneasy looks while my father stared at the ground. Outside in the parking lot, after the reading ended, my parents approached me. The calm they had shown earlier was gone, replaced with urgency. My mother spoke first, her voice unsteady. "Madison, honey, you must realize that we always assumed we would inherit the house. We're struggling, and we were counting on it. The mortgage, Emily's family's expenses. We could really use the house," my father continued, running his hand through his gray hair and explaining how her children needed a yard to play in. Emily added her thoughts as well, but I chose to get into my car and leave. During the drive, I kept thinking about my grandparents' final gift. In the weeks that followed, my life remained stable near the city. Although the house I inherited carried many valuable memories, it was far too large for me to live in alone. At the same time, I learned through our weekly conversations that my parents' financial situation was getting worse. Supporting Emily and her family had drained their retirement savings, and they were struggling to keep up with their mortgage. After careful consideration, I decided to buy my parents a more suitable home, something single-story with a nice garden and easier to maintain. I planned to use the money from selling my grandparents' house along with my own savings to provide them with a comfortable place for their retirement years. When I shared this idea, I was surprised by their reaction. They became emotional and expressed genuine happiness. After several weeks of searching, we found the right place. A beautiful ranch-style home with wide doorways, no stairs, and located in a quiet neighborhood. My parents repeatedly expressed how pleased they were once the purchase was completed. "We should have a proper housewarming party," my father said. "It's the least we can do after everything." "That sounds good," I replied, planning to formally present the deed during the gathering. "Just let me know when." Weeks passed. Despite my busy schedule, I kept expecting an invitation. Each time I asked, my mother would respond, "We're still planning. It takes time," while my father added, "We want everything to be perfect. We'll let you know soon." Their vague answers began to feel intentional. One evening, after another unclear phone call with my mother, I searched for Emily on Facebook. We weren't connected, and I hadn't checked her profile in years. A recent post immediately caught my attention. "I can't wait for this Saturday's housewarming party for Mom and Dad. Excited to celebrate with everyone in this beautiful home." Dozens of comments confirmed attendance. Photos showed caterers and decorations already arranged. This was clearly a well-planned event, not something last minute. I called my mother, trying to stay calm. "Hi, Mom. I wanted to ask about the housewarming. Do you have a date yet?" "Oh, not yet," she replied casually. "Probably in a few weeks. We're still working out the details." It became clear that everyone knew, except me. As Saturday approached, I had to decide whether to confront the situation or ignore it. After everything that had happened, after buying them this house, how could they exclude me? I would soon find out, though not in the way I expected. On Saturday, I parked a block away from the house I had purchased for them. Through the windows, I could see many guests, friends, relatives, and members of Emily's social circle. My father was giving tours of the home, while my mother, dressed formally, welcomed guests at the entrance. Lights and banners decorated the house, and laughter and music filled the air. It was obvious this event had been planned for weeks. I sat in my car for a few moments, watching Emily's children run through the crowd. Through a large window, I noticed moving boxes labeled in Emily's handwriting, stacked in a corner. It appeared her family had already started moving in. Taking a deep breath, I entered quietly through the side door. The scent of flowers and catered food filled the space. I followed the sound of my father's voice into the living room, where he was addressing a group of guests. "After years of hard work, we finally did it. We bought our dream home," he said. My mother quickly added, "And don't forget Emily. She helped so much with the down payment. She's such a thoughtful daughter, always putting family first, unlike some people." When someone asked about me, she continued, "Our younger daughter hasn't contributed at all. She's too focused on her career to care about family." I stepped into the room and said, "I think you've got that wrong." The room fell silent. My father was the first to respond, forcing a smile. "Madison, what a surprise. Especially since you didn't invite me to the housewarming for the home I bought," I replied as I walked further in. The silence deepened. Emily's husband looked around, confused, while one of the children tugged at her sleeve. "You bought it?" he asked. "Yes," I said. My mother responded sharply, "Well, it's ours now. You can't expect us to be grateful forever." My father, gaining confidence, added, "That's right, and honestly, you're not welcome here. This is a family gathering, and Emily and her family will be living here." "They've already sold their house," my mother explained. "Everything is arranged. The children need a stable home." I calmly took a folder from my bag and said, "There seems to be some confusion." I opened it and presented the documents. "This house legally belongs to me. I never transferred it to you." The color drained from my mother's face, turning from pale to almost gray. My father began speaking quickly about his responsibilities and obligations to the family. Emily's confident expression faded as she realized her plans were no longer working. Despite my shaking hands, I continued, I was planning to give it to you tonight, keeping my voice steady. I thought this could be a new beginning for all of us. Instead, you've shown me that nothing has changed. You can't do this, my mother said, her voice rising. We're your parents. No, I replied calmly. You're the people who gave birth to me. My real parents, my grandparents, taught me that family is more than blood. They also taught me about finances, which is why I own this house and you don't. I turned to the stunned guests and said, I'm sorry, but this gathering is over. This is my property, and I'm asking everyone to leave. My parents, Emily, James, the twins, and all their guests slowly exited. I stood on the porch, watching as cars pulled away one after another until the street was quiet. Outside, the decorative lights continued to glow. Inside, half-finished drinks and used plates covered the surfaces. What was meant to be a gesture of reconciliation became the final break in our relationship. A few weeks later, I learned that they had purchased a small apartment using money from selling their previous home. With Emily, James, and the twins moving in, 3 generations were now living in a space meant for 2 people. At first, they tried contacting me repeatedly. Their messages ranged from accusations, "You've become heartless just like we feared," to guilt-driven appeals, "How could you do this to your own family?" Eventually, I blocked their calls, emails, and social media accounts. The house now sits empty. I have a meeting with a real estate agent tomorrow. Not everything is meant to be repaired. Like old photographs stored away, some relationships are better left in the past. When I have children of my own, I've made a clear promise. They will never have to compete for my attention or earn my affection. Unlike my parents, I will love them equally and without conditions, just as my grandparents loved me. That Saturday night revealed everything. I hadn't been invited to the housewarming my parents hosted, despite it being the house I purchased. When I arrived, I saw guests, catered food, and most telling of all, moving boxes labeled with Emily's handwriting through the windows. My father proudly told others, after years of hard work, we finally bought our dream home. Meanwhile, my mother credited Emily for helping with the down payment and dismissed my absence by saying, Madison is too focused on her career to care about family. That moment reflected every experience from my childhood, every instance of favoritism toward Emily, and every time I was treated as secondary. Standing there, I saw clearly how they were rewriting reality, preparing to move my sister's family into my property without even informing me. Actually, I said, stepping forward, there seems to be a misunderstanding about who purchased this house. Their expressions revealed everything: shock, discomfort, then frustration. My mother was the first to respond, her tone firm with entitlement. What's done is done. The house is ours now, and Emily's family needs the space. I calmly presented the ownership documents and property deed. No, the house is mine. I never transferred it to you. I planned to do it tonight, but clearly that would have been a mistake. You can't do this, my mother said, her voice tense. We're your parents. We have rights. The only rights you have, I replied quietly, are the ones I choose to give you. And right now, I'm choosing to ask everyone to leave my property. What followed was a hurried exit. Guests left quickly, some still holding plates. The twins were confused and upset, and my father tried to maintain composure while guiding people outside. My mother's final attempt, "How could you do this to your own family?" no longer had any effect. In the weeks that followed, they were all living together in a small apartment. Messages continued. My father demanding reconsideration, Emily asking for stability for her children, and my mother accusing me of being cruel. I chose not to respond and blocked them entirely. The empty house stood as a reminder of what could have been, a chance for reconciliation. Instead, it marked the end of my connection with a family that never truly accepted me. A month later, I sold the property and used the money to invest in my own future. Some people asked if I would ever repair those relationships or offer forgiveness. I realized that forgiveness doesn't always mean allowing harmful people back into your life. Sometimes it means letting go and moving forward. Before putting away an old photo of my parents' wedding, I made a promise to my future children. They will never feel the pain of conditional love, comparison, or uncertainty about their place in the family. With me, that cycle ends. The last time I drove past my parents' apartment complex, I saw Emily's children playing in the small courtyard. I felt a brief sense of sadness, but not for what I lost. It was for something that never truly existed. My grandparents taught me that real family is built on love, respect, and support, not just shared blood. I carry their lessons with me as I move forward into this next chapter of my life. Love should be given freely, not demanded. Family is more than genetics, and sometimes walking away is the healthiest decision. I never opened my mother's final message. Whatever it contained no longer mattered. For the first time, I chose my own worth over their approval. That kind of conditional attachment has no place in the life I am building now. New opportunities lie ahead, free from the need to earn affection from those who cannot give it genuinely. I learned what true family looks like from my grandparents, and one day I will create that kind of family for myself, built on mutual respect, unconditional love, and equal value. At last, the chapter of being the overlooked child is closed. Becoming the author of my own life is only the beginning. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and turn on notifications to stay updated with more real-life stories like this.